The Wye Valley is an area of outstanding natural beauty straddling the border of England and Wales, and I've been lucky enough to live here for 10 years. Today I'm going to take you on a tour of some of its highlights, and at the moment I'm on an ancient bridge which was a strategic crossing point between England and Wales, and the first site I'm going to take you up to is actually overlooking this point. I just need to get beyond this bush. As you can see, it's still quite a busy crossing point. Hopefully you can see up on the hill behind me the ruins of Goodrich Castle. There it is up there. Goodrich Castle, that's going to be our first stop off point. I'll take you up there and we'll explore a bit more in depth. Here we are at Goodrich. I love the red sandstone on this castle. I've been a few times. In fact, my first time to the Forest of Dean, Wye Valley area, we came to visit Goodrich. And since living here, I've been maybe 4 or 5 times. This is my first visit for a while. It's one of my favourite castles in the region. Got a very rich history, which I'll tell you about as we go around. Impressive. Can you imagine what it would have been like to live in a medieval castle? I'm sure life was pretty tough in those days, but if you were back in those times, life in the castle was probably as good as it got, I guess, depending on your position. This must have looked so imposing back in its day. So that bridge that I was just on, we can't quite see it from here, but below this tree line, the River Wye is there. We may get some views of it a bit higher up once I get inside the castle. And the castle, of course, would have been quite domineering over that crossing point down below. It's quite busy with the school holidays. There's been a few families coming and going. This is the Barbican where I am now. I'm going to cross up into the gatehouse. Yeah, you can see the river down here. Not super clear. Yeah, imagine how imposing this was back in the day. Here we are in the medieval gatehouse. Best military designs of the late 13th century. You'll notice a lot of this around the castle as I go around. House martin or swallow poop. Lots of them will be nesting around the old ruins. And here we are out into the main castle. Going to take you exploring up this section here, and we'll come back out to the main keep in a little while. But first, let's go up these medieval steps. I love castles, and we're lucky right across Europe. There's so many incredible sites to visit. England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland have their fair share of them. Overlooking the Barbican and the entrance to the gatehouse. And I guess if those trees weren't there, You'd see right down onto the river and the crossing point as well. And this is the portcullis chamber where they lowered the gates down. Quite elaborate for its time. Over here you got quite a good view down over the surrounding countryside. You can see the river just about down here and miles into the Herefordshire countryside. So quite an imposing view. And I remember standing here before overlooking the gatehouse with the house martins and swallows swooping over me. But again, a good view down over the entranceway to the castle here. What I love in the old castles are all the nooks and crannies and the hidden tunnels. Never quite know where you're gonna come out. Here we are, out back into the main area again. So a little bit of context to the history of the castle. The first castle here was built most likely with earth and timber in the late 11th century by Goodrich, which is where the castle gets its name. And this stone keep was added later by Richard de Clare, who was famously known as Strongbow. He found infamy with his conquering of Ireland, which is a whole other story. But they would have fortified this castle through the years. I'm just reading the signs as we go around. There's so much in-depth history. Obviously, I'm just giving you an overall feel or view for the castle. It's pretty, isn't it? And it's quietening down a bit now in the late afternoon, which is why I came at this time, just a little quieter. Feels like I have it to myself now. There's the southeast tower. Again, you can imagine how imposing this was back in its day. And this is the section where I first came in. Right, let's go to the keep. And here's the keep. So I've just been reading a few more notes about the castle and its history. So Strongbow himself died in 1176, and at the time his two young sons were deemed too young to take ownership of this amazing fortification. So it went to the crown, where it was held until 1204, when King John awarded it to William Marshall, the Earl of Pembroke, and famous as England's most celebrated knight, renowned across medieval battlefields. William Marshall had actually married Strongbow's daughter in 1189, so he was Strongbow's son-in-law, and he'd already strengthened castles across the wider region, Usk, Chepstow, and then of course here at Goodrich as well. William Marshall himself passed away in 1296, and the castle then went to his widow, And over the centuries, it had many different owners and many different alterations, and it remained relatively peaceful until the English Civil War. So, during the English Civil War, Goodrich Castle was initially held by the parliamentarians, but it was taken soon after by the royalists. However, in 1646, the parliamentarians laid siege again and took the castle after a ferocious onslaught. And this mortar here, famously known as Roaring Meg, is the only surviving Civil War mortar. This was used to lay siege on Goodrich Castle, thus bringing an end, a dramatic end, to its 5-century long history as a residence. So I guess after all the carnage of the Civil War and the siege that Goodrich endured, it lay mostly in ruin, although it was still used as a residence afterwards, but no longer renowned as a fortification. This is another nice part of the castle, the chapel, nice and peaceful. After just talking about the carnage of the siege in the Civil War, this is quite a nice contrast. You can see overlooks the gatehouse as well. So much layered history here at Goodrich, and obviously I'm not a historian, I don't claim to be. I do have a fascination with the layers of history and how they've shaped the world as we know it today. I just really wanted to give you a little bit of an overview and a feel for Goodrich. There's much more to the castle as well, although I'm getting tight for time because closing time is in about 10 minutes and I need to walk all the way back to the centre. So for now I'm going to leave Goodrich, but I'm sure you might come yourself here someday for a visit and explore the charms of this wonderful medieval castle. Let's continue our tour of the Wye Valley. Ooh, these cannonballs, look. Fired at the castle also by the parliamentarians. Just on the way out now.
Oh yeah, don't worry, it's all 10 minutes.
Good, thank you. Behind me is King Arthur's cave that's shrouded in folklore and mythology. So back in Victorian times, excavations took place in this cave and they found the remains of animals like hyena, lion, bear. All of those animals would have been in Britain prior to the Ice Age. In fact, they found so many hyena bones it became known as the hyena den. Let's take a look inside. Doesn't seem particularly deep at the moment. But obviously there are some side tunnels off as well. I've seen bats in here before. Also, when they excavated the cave, they found giant human remains as well. A human skeleton said to be almost 7 feet tall, which obviously was pretty unheard of, especially back in Victorian times. So that's where the legend King Arthur's Cave came from. They said this skeleton must have been someone very powerful, very majestic. Unfortunately, the skeleton got lost at sea when it was being transported across the Atlantic for DNA analysis. So we'll never know for sure who that skeleton belongs to. But I guess that adds to the allure and the mystery and the legend of the cave. You can see there's little side tunnels here as well. But yeah, you can almost imagine hyenas denning down here in the depths of winter. Pretty cool place to visit. So many little nooks and crannies. All along the Wye Valley. It's renowned for its steep-sided wooded valleys, but there's lots of limestone crags and lots of little caves all the way along the valley. So lots of them to explore. This is one of the famous ones. Just coming back out into the open now. You can see someone's clearly had a fire here, which obviously you're not supposed to have in the woodland. And as we come out back into the open forest, I'm just going to show you the remnants of a labyrinth that was created down here for the TV series Britannia. If any of you have seen that, there's scenes here at the cave with this labyrinth out front. It's not looking at its best anymore. So again, the Forest of Dean and Wye Valley is a renowned movie and TV location. And this is where, I can't remember his name now, but the druid in the series Britannia set in the midst of his labyrinth when he was looking to seek the other world and get visions for clarity of thought. All this patch of woodland is really, really nice. It's called the Doward, and you can actually take a beautiful walk through the woodlands here up to Little Doward Hill Fort, which is one of my favourite parts of the forest. It's not so busy, it's really quiet. It's got quite a nice, tranquil, energetic atmosphere there. Tranquil and energetic, I know, might sound opposing, but something about it, there's a power in the energy up there which I quite like. And if you were to follow the trail down this way that I'm on now, it would bring you down to the River Wye, close to Biblins Bridge, which is the famous swing bridge over the river. And then you can go back to Simonjat East or Simonjat West. Just coming down to the old ferry inn at Simonjat West to have a little drink and a refreshing break. Look how picturesque this is. That was a nice refreshing drink. Had a few chips to get a little bit of carbs in me. That's the inside the pub here is quite nice as well. But I just set out by the river and I'm going to go for a nice walk now, up these steep steps first, down by the river to Biblins Bridge. Really picturesque part of the Wye Valley, this. Well, not so much here, but down a bit further down the river. I'll update you soon. I really like this section. Lots of what's known as hart's tongue fern, these guys. And this is kind of a Celtic rainforest vibe. So these are a plant that you would get a lot in those Atlantic or temperate or Celtic rainforests as they're known, which we've only got remnants of left now along the west coast of Britain and Ireland. But this is definite traces of it along here. There's some old lime kilns here. Simonjat lime kiln. That's what I notice a lot in the Wye Valley and Forest of Dean, even though it's a very picturesque area. The remnants of industrial heritage are everywhere. So examples of that include the scowls that you see a lot of in the forest, which are the old iron ore extraction points. Puzzlewood is quite famous for those, but there are lots of other examples as well. The sunken hollows, where they took iron ore out of. Lots of old coal spoils as well. Oh, look at this house over here. So anyone who saw Sex Education on Netflix, that's Jean's house. The house that Gillian Anderson was in. I'll get a better vantage point to show you a good view of it. It was an Airbnb property for a long time, but it's sold recently for 1.5 million, I think. But yeah, very picturesque all down here, and a lot of Sex Education, that series was filmed in the Wye Valley. We'll get a better viewpoint down here. This is just coming down to the riverside. So over here there's an ancient hand ferry that connects Simonjat East and Simonjat West. I'm on the west side now, and that's the east side over there. That's the Saracen's Head pub, 16th century inn, which is really nice. Kingfisher cruises here run regular boat trips on the river. And yeah, Simonjat East is quite a busy little hamlet. It's obviously quieting down now after a busy day of tourism. And there's Jean's house just above, overlooking the river. What a nice house. Imagine sitting out there having your morning coffee, overlooking the River Wye. So yeah, really blessed to have all this on my doorstep. Just up here, hopefully you can see it. You might see the drop-off point for the canoes and the kayaks. So yeah, really picturesque part of the forest. Right, I'm going to continue on downwards to Biblins Bridge. Nice and lush down here. Whoa, look at this. Incredible bracket fungi. I think this is that dryad saddle, which I found on my Three Castles walk as well. How amazing is that? It looks awesome, doesn't it? Lots of nice fungi there. This track that I'm on will bring me right down adjacent to the river, and I'll just follow it downstream for a while till I get to Biblins. I can hear the rapids So Simon's Yacht has got a famous kind of rapid section, which lots of the kayakers love testing themselves on. Hopefully I can show you. I just need to get a clearing a little further down. Lots of Himalayan balsam everywhere as well, which is an invasive species, not so good, because it can take over entire sections and cloud out all the native species of plants. So not so good. Yeah, here's the rapids up ahead of me. Don't know if we'll get the best view from here. Bring you down a little further and hopefully we'll see it a bit better down here. But quite a nice testing part of the river. Obviously the River Wye is famous and popular and renowned for its kayaking and canoeing. I've certainly done it quite a few times and many others too, but I haven't done the rapids. Need to be quite proficient to be on there. Can't really get it great from this side. I think I'd need to be on the other side of the river to get a proper good view of that, so perhaps a little later I can give you a good vantage point from there. This is a nice trail. It's a nice antidote actually, this, because everywhere I went today seemed to be busy. I know it's the school holidays, so it's nice to have a trail to myself. Nice and quiet and peaceful now. Just the latter end of the rapids here. Found my own little private beach area. Really pretty. I've just paused again here because look at this. Look how much of this Hart's Tongue fern is here. This is giving me proper Celtic rainforest vibe. I love it. I mean, I know a few people in the nature restoration kind of world, and there is a movement to try and restore as much temperate rainforest as we can. How amazing would that be? To have our islands, Britain and Ireland, humming again with the vibrancy of proper functioning ecosystems, resilient and full of life. We can but hope that's the way we're going. There are a lot of good people working in that sector, and I have a lot of faith in them, so let's hope we get there. Biblins campsite, so we're almost out on Biblins Bridge. So this is a youth campsite exclusively for the youngsters to enjoy. A really picturesque location right down by the river, and you'll see the nice swing bridge in just a moment. There's not that many crossing points. I mean, you had the hand ferry at Simonja East, which doesn't operate all the time, only in peak times. And then you've got the bridge here, and the next crossing point is probably 4 miles beyond that down to Monmouth. So you have to plan your route smartly if you're doing any walks along this section of the Wye Valley, because you can't just willy-nilly get across to the other side. There is a really nice track on the other side. It's the old railway line, which is obviously now restored to nature, and it's a really nice loop to do from Simonja East, across on the hand ferry, down this side of the river, back over Biblins Bridge and back to Simonja East. I'm not doing all that loop today. I'm just going to take it to the bridge here, possibly a little further, down to the Seven Sisters, and then I need to start making my way back. Some fallow deer up here. Three of them at least. Almost didn't see them. Always good to spot. Yeah, properly down into Biblins now. You can see there's a whole village of tents here. I guess the deer will come on here in the evening when it's quiet. It's perfect grazing for them. Look how succulent and fresh that grass is. You probably can't resist it. Such a quaint setup here. I would have loved to have some time camping out down here. This trackway here would bring you back up to King Arthur's Cave, where I was earlier on. In fact, I've done a big loop. I'll show you on this map. Hidden heritage of the Wye. So, well, let me see. King Arthur's Cave was up here earlier on. I drove back down along the road, got to Simonjat West, so the old ferry inn up here somewhere, and I've come down where the hand ferry across at the Saracen's Head is. I've obviously come down along the river here to Biblins, and if I continue down I'll get to Seven Sisters Rocks, which is beautiful up on top of. I remember sitting up there before and you could just see for miles around. Actually I should have done that when I was at King Arthur's Cave, it was much closer. But c'est la vie, I've left that too late. Let's go down here. Here's Biblins Bridge finally. In front of me. Famous suspension bridge over the Wye. Here we go. Going over Biblins Bridge. Just before I do, have a look at these lovely tents. How cool would it be to stay in those? And here's the beautiful swing bridge over the river. Remember my first visit down here, 2015 I think it was, and I was just blown away by all the natural beauty around me. So the Welsh border is another couple of miles downriver. My actual house, where I've been living for the last 10 years, is only about 2 miles once you cross this bridge back up through the forest, maybe 2.5 miles. So very lucky to have all this on my doorstep. Nice tranquil spot to come and relax. Lots of people putting padlocks on the bridge. Was that Paris where that started? But yeah, nice place to be. I'm actually going to stay on the west side of the river because my car is on this side, and if I go back to Simonjat East, the hand ferry's not running. So this is the only crossing point. So I've got the backtrack now. I've just got to decide if I have time to get down to Seven Sisters Rocks or not. It's starting to get a bit darker, as you can see. Let's have a 2-minute rest first and then I'll make a plan. The Seven Sisters are in here. Can't really make them out massively well at the moment, but basically they're the limestone crags. It's getting late now. The evening's got away from me a bit. I'm going to quickly go up on top of one of these crags because it's pretty spectacular once you're up there. But I can't linger. I've got to get up, have a few quiet moments, and then I need to get back because the darkness will close in soon enough. So here I am, on top of one of the Seven Sisters. It's a beautiful place to be. I took the shorter route, scrambled up the side, which was a bit tough but quicker, and you can see why I was keen to get here. Look how beautiful this is. You're literally amongst the treetops, and you can see nothing but forest for miles, and the river of course down below. No people, no traffic, no cars, no buildings. Bliss. I remember sitting here before on this rock, and swallows, house martins, even swifts swooping all around, more or less at head height with me. It was amazing, like I was in the clouds with them. Beautiful up here. I can't believe I haven't been here for so long actually. It's so peaceful and tranquil, and a bit of a hidden gem. I just noticed over here some slowberries. It's my first slowberry of the year. Another one there. Slowberries are edible, of course. Bit sharp tasting, but once you get used to them, not so bad. And you can make slow gin, of course, too. Sometimes when I'm with the kids on some of my ranger sessions, I get them to try and eat a slowberry without grimacing. It's quite funny. But yeah, look how nice and tranquil this is. I need to make my way back though. I can't linger for long. You can feel the evening's drawing in. The light levels drop quickly. I've got a torch in my bag, luckily. I always come prepared. And I've got a spare top, so I'll be fine. But it's brighter out here, but once you're back in amongst the trees, it darkens up a lot. And by the time I get back to my car, it'll most likely be dark all around. So I'll continue our tour of the Wye Valley tomorrow. Look forward to updating you on some new adventures. Just on the way back to my car now, and as I mentioned, all the deer excuse me, out grazing on the fresh grass here. Fallow deer. Lots of deer in the Forest of Dean, the most abundant of course of which is fallow, and we also get roe deer and muntjac deer as well. But as I mentioned earlier, this is perfect grazing for them. They'll come back now. I feel bad to have disturbed them. They'll come back down once it quietens down. Almost back at my car now. 5 minutes away from the old ferry inn. I had a nice walk through the woods, spotted a lot of deer on the way. As you can see, darkness has closed in. Just back to the river crossing point here. That's the Saracen's Head across the river. Jean's house that I mentioned earlier on up on the hill. Just thought I'd pause for a moment to take in the tranquility. So the day's got away from me, but I'll be back out tomorrow for more Wye Valley adventures.